Hi guys, it's Karon Thackston with marketingwords.com. We've got K Square going on again today because Karen Thomas from Helium 10 is with me, and we're going to be walking you through a demo of listing optimization today with some examples so you can see exactly what we're talking about using the suite of Helium 10 tools. And this is actually what brought me to Helium 10 probably 3 or 4 years ago, I guess it was, when Manny was working all by himself. And he didn't have a huge team in California. It was just him. And there was a tool called Scribbles that he came out with early on that really caught my attention, because without Scribbles, the Marketing Words team of writers would always have to go through and manually look and scan. Did we get all the duplicates out of the back end keyword or the search term sections? You know, did we have all of this in the title and then we don't need it down here 2 or 3 more times and whatnot? And it would take forever. And with that early Scribbles tool that I think Manny said he converted an Excel spreadsheet that he made and converted it into this really cool online tool. With that, Scribbles does all the work for us. So the listing optimization is way easier. You'll see when we get into it. But that was the one that really turned me on to Helium 10 years ago. And we're still using it because it just saves so much time in doing that. But there are lots of other things besides just using Helium 10 Scribbles that we're going to talk about today. So you're going to get a look at the entire process. And Karon is a pro. She's been doing this at Helium 10 for quite a while now. So I'm going to let you take off and share your screen and walk us through some things. And we'll discuss all the ins and outs of listing optimization so everybody watching can boost their search rankings and their sales.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me, Karon. It's always such a pleasure talking with you. You're so cool. So yeah, let's go and dive in and look at some examples. I'll just share my screen if you wouldn't mind giving me access to that.
Yeah. We have to do that, don't we? You would think I would learn to do this beforehand.
No, you got to focus on the important things, you know? This is easy peasy.
All right, we're changing there. And you are now the host, so you should be able to do what you want to do.
Perfect. Okay, so we were talking just a minute ago, Karon, about pickleball. So are you a big pickleball player?
Oh, Karon? Yeah. At least probably 5 days a week.
Oh, wow. No wonder you're in shape. That's impressive.
2 to 3 hours at a time. So, yeah.
Dang. So you're like a legit pro expert here.
Well, I don't know about expert, but I love to play.
I love it. Well, yeah, you just got me thinking, let's look at some pickleball sets and see kind of what they're doing well, maybe what we can improve upon. And then I'll show you all how I use some of our awesome Helium 10 tools to do listing optimization. So one thing I like to do is I always like to use our Helium 10 Chrome extension and just look at our X-ray tool. Mm-hmm. And it gives a good idea of, you know, how much they're doing estimated with revenue, kind of their review volume. So how many reviews they're getting a month and some other important information. But it's always interesting to see. I mean, this is crazy. This particular listing is doing $100,000 a month in pickleball sets. Isn't that crazy? This one's doing 160,000, which is so cool. So these are the type of products you want to be, you know, dominating. Obviously this is a competitive niche, but it's always fun to see people that are doing super well. So
supposedly pickleball is the #1 fastest growing sport in the United States. Supposedly, of course, that's according to the U.S. Pickleball Association. So they may be biased.
Well, I believe it. I think it's such a fun sport. It's a little bit easier to get into than tennis, but it's like really good exercise. It's kind of a good, like, if you know how to play ping pong, it's a good balance of like ping pong and tennis. It's super fun.
Yep. It really is.
And one thing I like about our X-ray Chrome extension is you can kind of see this sales graph to see, what it's done over 30 days, 90 days, a year, all time.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see they had a really great Christmas, and it's slowed down a bit, which makes sense with, it's getting colder. So it's probably a little bit more of a seasonal product, probably really picks up in the spring and summer.
Well, actually, there are tons of indoor courts.
Oh, really?
And a lot of them are still open right now. So they've, adjusted their requirements for playing indoors and their safety protocols for playing indoors. But yeah, you can play year round if your area has indoor courts.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. See, Karon, I'm learning all sorts of cool information. I love that. That's awesome. So obviously these guys are dominating. They have tons of reviews. They obviously have a really well done set. So let's see if there's anything that you or I can pick out that we think could do better. So yeah, right off the bat, I mean, I hate to be picky because they're doing so well, but I don't love, I guess, the color scheme. It doesn't seem to match. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And they have the blue and the red case, but then these are pink. I like to have a little bit more in the wheelhouse, but I can't judge. They're obviously doing amazing. But yeah, really. So yeah. So I like their images. There's some good things. I like that they have some lifestyle images. I've always been a proponent of that, Karon, is making sure you have good images that show your target demographic using your products. So they have, this call out. It's a heavy duty carrying bag. I think it's good to always have some text, and we can go into that in just a minute to kind of tell your audience what you want them to get from the image so that they're visually seeing it, and their logical mind's telling them, okay, it's got this carrying bag. That's what they want us to focus on here. And so I like that. I like that they show perfect for all ages. So they have a younger girl playing. They highlight some features of this. It's good durability, minimum wind interference, perfect balance. Balls can be used indoor and outdoor. Oh, there you go. You said it could be used indoor and outdoor. Perfect. So there's some good things. For me, I would probably make it a little bit more uniform with the colors, but I just want to point out that it is helpful to have, for me, some text in every single image, so just so that you can take that up. You know what I mean? Yeah,
to qualify what somebody's looking at. I mean, obviously it's a paddle, but what's the big deal? Approved by USAPA. They say that, but the logo is not on their paddle. And if you intend to play in tournaments, you have to play with a paddle that's USAPA approved. It makes me nervous that the logo is nowhere on that paddle because it should be.
Ooh, Karon, this is some good insider information. Yep, so you having that knowledge, that could be a really good opportunity, right? If you wanted to get into something like this, or if you did have a paddle that had that, you could kind of exploit that, right? You could have like a comparison chart that said aren't acceptable for tournaments, but ours is because of, we have it on here. So it just be to differentiate.
Yep, exactly. And that goes back to the basic thing. And I will say this lovingly, many Amazon sellers never take the time to figure out who their target audience is and the nuances of what applies to them. So if somebody was actually a hardcore pickleball player and they were looking on Amazon to find a new paddle and they had aspirations of playing in a tournament and they saw this and they bought it and they found out later, this doesn't have the logo on it. This isn't actually approved by the USAPA. You're going to not only get returns, but you're going to get bad reviews.
Well said.
Knowing all of these things, and we can look at the bullet points here in a minute, and wow, that's a whole lot of copy in the bullet points. That's a page. That's almost a page full of text all crammed in there together.
Yeah.
But yeah, you really have to be able to speak to your target audience in the language they will use when they're buying a product. So having things like this and getting to know that customer is really important.
That's such a good point. And I'm glad you brought that up. And so one way that I love to kind of gather information, like you're mentioning, is our review insights tool from our Chrome extension.
I like that one too.
It's so nice, right? Because like for me, I played pickleball and I think it's so fun, but I had no idea about that nuance. So if you're selling a product or you're writing a listing that you have no idea the nuances, then it's one of the best ways is to start reading reviews, and you'll kind of get into the mind of the customer, what's important to them, what they like about it, what they don't like about a product. So this is a super helpful tool, even as you're doing product research, right? To kind of just see, maybe you only want to look at the 1-star reviews, that you can say, oh, they don't like that it doesn't have the logo, I'm going to make the logo on this, or they don't like the colors.
Right.
You can kind of make those improvements, right?
Yeah. And a lot of people will only look at the 4 and 5-star reviews because they want to see what people love about the product and what they have to compete with. But when you look at the complaints that people have about a product, why they rated it so low, that gives you an opportunity, like Karon just said, to overcome those obstacles in your copy or sometimes in the photos.
That's such a good point. I'm so glad you brought that up. Let's just see real quick, because you're right. I think I definitely like to look at the good. Let's just look at the happy 5-star reviews, but I think it is super valuable, even like highlighting that, like you said, in your sales copy and your images. So the cap came off, the package smelled musty, broken paddle, not all the hype. So you can, quickly kind of scan over them this way. I also like using the review analysis tab right here, so you can kind of see what people are saying the most. One paddle, it's lightweight, it's really nice feel, but after playing it 2 times, the cap came off, the butt cap came off of one of the paddles. This one said disappointing quality, the outer rubber guard came completely off. I had to re-glue it back on. Not sure if I was, so again, that could be a problem with the glue, right? So we could highlight that.
They're probably talking about the wrap that goes around the grip.
Okay.
That makes that you hold on to at the end of the paddle. And if that came off, then no, it wasn't glued on properly. So
that makes a lot of sense. And it doesn't seem like it's a huge problem. Like this, we only see 2 people saying that, but I mean, again, it still kind of highlights, we can kind of overcome people's fears if they are reading stuff and they're worried, is this going to be, cheap? Is it going to come off easily? We can kind of set their mind at ease.
That's a point I was just going to make. Can you click back up on that first one paddle?
Absolutely.
Did I see something? I had to click back on. Nice, but the butt cap came off. Like the paddle, lightweight, really nice feel. Terrible quality. Okay, so they're all saying the same thing about these bits and pieces of it falling apart. You also, if you're offering a basic quality product, it's not a premium quality product or something that someone would pay a whole lot of money for, then also include that in your copy. Speak to the fact that it's an economy set. It's a great starter set. Things of that nature. It's a basic set. You can look up thesaurus.com and find other adjectives that would describe it in that way, but somewhere that it wasn't this one. Somebody was talking about, read all the reviews, and there was all this hype, and I was blown away was the word I came across when you were clicking and opening these and closing them, but it doesn't really matter. But it was someplace else that talked about being blown away. And if you write copy so that it blows people away and they're expecting to get a $200 paddle and they're getting 2 paddles and balls for $64, I think was the case here, they're going to be disappointed because it can't be the same quality as, a higher end paddle. And if all these reviews, whether they've been manipulated or not, come back and talk about how phenomenal this is, and then it isn't, again, you're in for bad reviews and a whole lot of returns.
That is such a brilliant expert tip right there, Karon. I'm so happy you brought that up. That was so smart. That's such a good way to kind of get around that, because you're right. This isn't a $200 set where it's, legit with the logos on it, etc.
Yeah, and if people are just starting out, and that's these things have a place. These sets with the 2 paddles, and they're even calling it a racket. It's not a racket.
Hmm.
I just noticed that up top. It says pickleball paddle set. Maybe they put that in there because some people who are just starting are referring to it as a racket. But this is, and they are saying 2 premium graphic rackets. Yeah, so there's absolutely a place for these lower end sets because people don't want to pay $120, $150, $180 for a paddle when they aren't sure if they're going to like it or not.
Right. They're not playing 5 times a week like you.
Right. Exactly. So people that are just getting into pickleball and maybe they want to play for a long term and maybe they don't, then they want these lower end paddles. They have to have something to start with, but just position it at the level that it is. I would get rid of these things, premium paddles and ultra cushion grip that peels off because it isn't glued properly and things like that. Take all that out because you're hyping it up and people are going to be disappointed when they get the actual purchase.
That is so stinking brilliant, Karon. I love that. Let's just show that real quick. So one cool thing is you can actually jump right into our Scribbles tool that you mentioned earlier, Karon. And I agree, this is such a cool tool. It makes it really easy to organize and visually see where you want to put your keywords. And I like the layout when I'm trying to get the creative juices flowing.
Yeah, so I do too.
So smart. Do you like to have, when you're writing your bullet points, do you like to have like an all caps heading, or how do you introduce it?
We like to have a little bit of a snippet in the front when we do them, just 3 or 4 words, not an entire sentence. But I think that really helps to catch the attention of shoppers.
That's so smart. And I love that you just kind of set the tone that this is a starter set. So their expectation is this isn't for hardcore, I play this like Karon 5 times a week. I'm an expert. I'm ready to go to a tournament. The expectation's been set. This is a starter set. So
see, in this bullet, they're not doing that. We use cutting edge technology to create superior pickleball paddles, which clearly from a lot of these 1 and 2 star reviews, that's just not the case. If it's falling apart and it's claiming to be USAPA approved and it really isn't, that's not what this is. High-end durable materials with best performing honeycomb core. I agree with the guy who said he was impressed with the price and everything that the listing said and whatnot. And then he got it and went, okay, not so much.
Yep. That's such a good point. I think it's so important to temper expectations so that you can exceed their expectation, but you're not over promising, under delivering, right? That's
exactly. And people who are looking for a beginner set, they're not looking for the best of the best. They know what they're looking for. You can talk about how affordable this set is. Great for an introduction period to pickleball, trying to decide if you like it or not, working on building up your stamina, things of that nature, want an affordable option for a basic set or a beginner's set. Yeah, great starter set for beginners. There you go. And that would really capture their attention. Awesome. This is just what I need. So all of these things can be incorporated into those bullet points as well. And you position it for what it is and make those the appealing features of your set instead of talking about superior technology that's used in the thing, is just clearly not. So
this is just so brilliant. I love hearing how your mind works because I totally agree with you. I think there's just this need in all of us that we want to be in the right place, right? And it's no different with an Amazon listing. We don't want to, have, like you said, this expectation where an experienced pickleballer, that's probably not a word, and we think the set's great. Oh, good. And then it's not, right? Versus I'm looking and I'm a beginner and I'm like, okay, this is perfect for me. This is perfect for me to play with my kids just for fun, right? Versus if this was for an experienced player, then I probably would look at this listing and maybe not be as impressed. Maybe I'd want to see, you know, like you said, I'd want to see the actual logo, like prove to me that this can be used in tournaments. And maybe I'd want to see different colors, and I'd want to see people actually playing, like you and a partner actually at a tournament, right? I want to know that this is for experts, not just for, you know, little kids playing for fun. I want to know this is premium for reals.
Exactly.
So that's such a good point. I'm so glad you highlighted that. Also, Karon, do you use emojis in your bullet points?
We typically don't. I haven't heard of anybody getting slapped for inserting emojis, but it's not something we normally do. But yeah, I love that those are right there. If you want to put them in, all you have to do is click.
It's so nice, right? I know in the past I would like try to find the hexadecimal coding, and this is all like coded, and you can just search for it. Let's see if they have them. I doubt they have pickleball, but let's just say
most people don't have that yet.
Right. Yeah, but it's trending, right? Do you think any of these would work? Like, or do they look too?
No.
Not per se.
Probably not. Put in paddle. There may be a ping pong paddle. That would probably be the closest thing.
That's smart. Look at you. You're so genius. So we talked about some good ideas, jumping into our customer's mind, making sure that we're tempering expectations with the right language. If we're not premium and we haven't done all this cutting edge research, then don't say that, right? Because there's nothing worse than being tricked. You're like, the glue's coming undone. There's no logo on it. This is not what I wanted. Versus, you know, this is a starter set. Great. I know what I'm getting. Expectations good. So then we need to think about Amazon, right? And we need to make sure we have the right keywords. And so, you know, one thing that our Helium 10 software is known for is our awesome keyword research tools. And Cerebro is fantastic. So sorry, that was kind of fast, but one way to get directly into Cerebro, our number one keyword research tool, is just clicking this keywords tab right here. And I'm just in Chrome, and that's how you can access all of these tools right here in Amazon. So using Chrome and then clicking on keywords, that will take you directly into Cerebro. And then one cool thing is we can add in different competitors, just clicking this right here. And it will go and start finding our top competitors, and then we can kind of look through and take out the ones that we don't want. So again, this is just a quick example, but let's say this one looks like a starter set. This one looks like a starter set. And basically, I just want to make sure that I'm kind of comparing apples to apples. So I'm looking for, you know, similar price point. I'm looking for similar quality or similar sets. So this one has 4, so that's probably not a direct competitor, right? Because it's
since the other one had 2, that one's probably going to be those are little wooden paddles, so they're going to be cheapo. But the ones that have single paddles, I'm pointing to my screen as if you can see me. I know this one over here, that's a single paddle, so that won't work. But you can look and see when you're doing this, check around with the competitors and whatnot. There are big names in here. Anybody that is familiar with pickleball at all will be able to pick out Onyx and Head and a lot of these others that have Franklin Sports is down there, and a lot of these others that are big name national brands that produce it. And then we have all these other little companies that aren't. And when you look at the difference in the price, it's going to be one of these where you don't want folks to get it and say, yep, sure enough, you get what you pay for.
Such a good point. Absolutely agree with you on that. So let's just assume that we've looked on Amazon and these all have similar pricing, similar quality, similar offerings. So I'm going to put those ASINs in, and then I'm going to click Get Keywords, and I'm going to see what Cerebro has to show us. And we're probably going to get a lot, thousands. So we're going to want to narrow it down so we have the very best keywords to work with. So it takes just a minute or so. Really quick, while that's loading, Karon, when you write titles, do you use the brand name at the beginning of the title every time?
Not every single time. We do for A+ listings, unless something's changed quite recently. That's a requirement in A+ listings, but it's not a requirement in standard. There was a flurry of activity 6 or 8 months ago where Amazon was going in and forcing the brand even in some standard listings.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but that seems to have calmed down. I haven't heard reports of that lately.
Yeah, it's tricky because Amazon certainly does want you to have your brand at the beginning. You could see when we were looking at the keywords, most of them did, but it is tough because your title has such great bearing and great weight for ranking, and definitely being the title has a lot of power. So it's tough if you have a brand that nobody's heard of, like Kangaroo Pickleballs or whatever. Nobody's heard of that. So it's kind of wasting that space, but I agree. It's tough if Amazon is forcing that more than you gotta.
That's true. And one thing that you may want to consider if you are a new seller and you're developing products or developing different brands, think about how much space that brand name is going to take up if you plan on launching your brand on Amazon, because if you're going for brand registry and ultimately the ability to create A+ listings, that will have to be in those front slots. So if you pick a big old long brand name, that's going to take up a lot of prime real estate.
That's such a good point. I agree. I think it's so important to know that from the beginnings, that especially if you know, like, I'm going to always sell, my brand is only pickleball stuff or it's only fitness stuff, and you can kind of have a brand around that so it still has keywords in it, so you're not wasting that space, right? Versus if I'm writing Karen's creative pickleballs, that's not a keyword that people are searching, so it's kind of not using that space well.
Exactly.
So you can see that Cerebral gave us over 11,000, almost 12,000 different keywords, which is way too crazy, too much information. So we want to use some of our different filters here in these fields to, narrow down the search so that we can come up with our very best keywords. So do you have a minimum search volume that you use when you're looking for keywords?
It depends a lot on the product. These are really competitive. So yes, I would say probably at least, 400, 500 minimum.
Nice. Beautiful. And then I want to look at the position rank. So, if you're looking for keywords and you're looking for, listings, unfortunately, that are on page 2 or 3, they're not getting that many sales. And then after that, for beyond, it's like they're probably getting 1 sale every blue moon. So we want to look for the most relevant keywords and the keywords that are making the most money, so that we know these are keywords we want to invest having in our listing and hopefully doing some PPC campaigns around. So this is a pretty good size list, right? We have about 46 different keywords that it filtered out for us. You can see the search volume, not too crazy, but enough that we have something to work with, right? So pickleball paddles, pickleball set, pickleball paddle, pickleball racket. There's that racket for newbies.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of tennis players, we can tell which sport people came from usually, because the racquetball players who convert to pickleball and the tennis players who convert to pickleball, both of those are used to saying racket. So they'll say racket. Sometimes beginners will do that as well.
That makes a lot of sense. So this would probably be perfect to have in like a beginner set, like you were saying, like a beginner pickleball set, instead of an experience that'd be like, it's not a racket, right? Like you immediately like, no, these aren't called rackets. So that's a good way to kind of differentiate, right? That, you're in the wrong place if you're seeing that. And then I just like to go through the list and make sure that everything looks relevant. Sometimes like this is a brand name, so I wouldn't use that. Looks like another
Kinix is a brand name. Yep.
Okay.
That's what brand I play with right now.
Oh, that's cool. Is that, would you say that's one of the top brands?
Yes.
Okay. That's good to know. I'm nowhere near your level, but something to shoot for, you know what I mean? Talk to me in a year, Karen. I may have something more to show for it. Okay. So yeah, just kind of go through and make sure that everything looks relevant. Yep. So let's just assume that we did that. And then one cool thing that I like to do is add it to my list right here. It's our new keyword manager. And so you can go ahead and you can create a new folder. So let's just call this my top keywords for pickleball set. And then I can save it right here. And then I want to add those to the folder. So I'll make sure to go ahead and save that. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so I added that there. Mm-hmm. So another cool thing, do you use a magnet a lot, Karon? To also double check? Okay, nice. So this is another great way to kind of double and triple check to see what other keywords you can come up with. So you can put in a base or a seed keyword like pickleball set and then get keywords. And it's probably going to come up with, again, thousands of different variations. And,
right.
You know, something that's even maybe not even closely related. So we want to kind of narrow that search down into what we call smart complete here in the map type. And we're going to do that. You can see we've got over almost 2,500 different keywords. So if we do smart complete, it's going to narrow it down to about 100 keywords that only have pickleball, our seed keyword, pickleball set in it. Mm-hmm. These are kind of the longer tail keywords. And then I can sort it by search volume and kind of get an idea of, did I miss anything? Get anything that looks like brand names, I just X, because that's not going to be super relevant to me. I can't do much with that. Do you think this is a brand, or do you think they're trying to say gym and that's just a misspelling?
It's probably a brand. I don't know what that would be.
Okay.
That one's probably a brand.
Well said. So as we're looking at this list, Karon, are there any keywords that surprise you that you wouldn't have necessarily thought of per se?
That's what I was looking to see. No, not so far. Pretty much they're all... I wouldn't have thought about, I just saw equipment pop up. I wouldn't have thought about searching for that, 379. That would be worth working in somewhere, even if you just put it in the search terms field.
Well said.
Yep, that would be a good one. Gamma is a brand that can come out.
Well said.
Yep, Gamma Composite. That's a brand. That Amazing Aces is a brand. I guess the ZUME is a brand. And see, most of these are variations of all the others. You get composite in there. That's a type of paddle.
Okay.
Driveway pickleball set. Right now, that's pretty cool, especially if people only had indoor courts, or even if their outdoor courts have been closed temporarily. That driveway pickleball set would be worth working in somewhere. Those would come with a net, though, a temporary net that isn't official size. It would be the width of usually they're the width of a single car driveway, not a double car driveway. But that would be a cool thing. And you could say, if you wanted to work that in, you could put something in your description or your bullet points around the fact that even if you have no net, you can enjoy hours of family fun hitting in the driveway with your pickleball set.
That's so smart.
Yeah, not an exact match, but close enough.
Yeah. That's such a good idea. I love hearing your expert tips. You're so smart. Genius.
Graphite, Zoom, pickleball, graphite set. Graphite is another type of paddle. Monarch is a brand. Yeah, but all of those are things with a couple of exceptions that I would have expected to see.
Okay. So maybe we'll just include this just for fun in our keyword list. And so it's really cool. This is a great place if you've done any product research. Now we have this keyword research where you can find your list and kind of organize. So you can see there's a products tab if you've done product research, and then there's a keywords tab that you can kind of go through and manage this and organize it. And then you can take it to different places like Scribbles or
Scribbles.
I know, right? So let's just go back just for fun and see where this particular listing is using some of these keywords we found. So we're going to go right here. So it's just this button, upload keywords from my list. We're going to top keywords. So this is going to be a ton, but 75. So you can see they've used, interesting. That's interesting, right, Karon? They only had 2 of our keyword phrases used in their listing, at least in the front end. So to me, it's always shocking, because if you can have keywords, especially in phrase form, it's a lot more powerful, in my opinion. Have you found that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you have to have every one of them is an exact phrase, but in the title, it is helpful. We usually suggest, depending on what the length of those are, that you get at least your number one. If you could pick one and you had to rank for that key phrase, that needs to be exact. Yeah. And then you can kind of work around the others. But this is where everything gets super cool, because as you type in the bullet points or the titles or the whatnot, and you use these keywords and the phrases from the list, they disappear from the list. And you know that it's been used. If you decide, no, I don't like that bullet, I'm going to start over, and you delete it, it goes back on the list. So you don't forget that you had that key phrase. And there are other cool features about Scribbles too, but this just saves us so much time at marketing words.
Such a brilliant tool. I agree. It's so powerful. So you can see those just got deleted, and all I did was click hide used phrases, and then you can see cross them off, or you can hide them so that, like you said, once you've used it, it disappears. So you can kind of keep track, like, okay, I need to use this. And then also down here in the phrases, it's also the different colors are showing you how much search volume. So red has the most search volume for those keywords, and then it kind of goes down from there. So orange is the next highest, and then green. So your black would be your lowest search volume. So we don't have any of those. And then these are just showing you the different colors on the individual words on how many times it's used. So red would be shown a lot. You can see if I undo that, pickleball obviously uses 11 different times in these phrases and set. So it's really super helpful. And it's cool, like it will kind of auto-complete. You can see as I start typing that in, it will show you different variations of that. Yep. So it's this
is what makes all of Helium 10's tools, I think, and nobody's ever told me this, but my guess is that you guys run these things past a beta group or something of actual sellers, and they say, I really wish you would do this, because when I start to use the tool and blah, 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 I lose it, or I get confused or whatever. And then somebody goes, oh, isn't that easy to correct? And you have all these super cool little tiny features included in all of your software that makes life so much easier.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I agree. I think that's one thing that Helium 10 has done super well. Like you said, is just really staying in tune and in touch with our customers so that we're improving all the time. We're making them better. We're adding more tools all the time. We actually have a webinar coming out this Thursday with new tools we're launching. So it's really, really fun.
I've been seeing one of them pop up in the upper right-hand corner. I didn't say anything because I didn't know if I was supposed to yet, but it starts with an A. I won't say anything more.
I love that. We're just leaving that little teaser there. And so lastly, I know we're kind of running out of time, Karon. It's been so fun chatting with you. But one last thing I'll say is I always like to check and see, just to make sure that, listings indexed, or the keywords. Let's say I'm trying to index for these 75 different keywords. So you can just put the ASIN in here, and then it will check to see if those keywords are actually indexing. So super, super powerful. And if not, then like you said, I can sneak those words in somewhere, maybe in the back end search terms or in the subject matter fields or somewhere in my bullet points or product description. So it's really, really nice. Exactly. And then if it is indexed, you'll see this check mark. And then I didn't link the seller ID, so I can't check that. But so you can see for this, it looks like they're indexed for pretty much all of these different keywords, which makes sense. Yep. So it's like right here, they're not for pickleball racket.
And let me just clear up one misconception.
Yes, please.
When we talk about being indexed, that just means that Amazon has taken notice of it and added it to its database. It does not mean that you are ranking for that term. But it has to be indexed in order for you to rank for that term. It's sort of like when you go grocery shopping, you pick up a bag of oranges and you put them in your cart. The oranges have now been indexed, but you're not going to be able to do anything with them until you actually go through the checkout line or until you rank for that term, and then you leave the store with your oranges that have been through the checkout line. So being indexed, people get so frustrated. Well, I'm indexed for it, but I can't find it anywhere. And I'm like, because you haven't ranked for it yet. It's not, the two don't happen simultaneously.
I'm so happy. That was such a good description. I can see why you are amazing at marketing, because that was brilliant. I was really flowing with your example. So thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome. Awesome.
But yeah, this has been so fun, Karon. I really appreciate you having me on. It's always such a pleasure learning and talking with you.
Yeah, likewise. You have such an easy way to click through all of these and show us how all of the different tools link together. So I don't have to export a keyword list and then go to a different tool and import it again and start all over from scratch. It's just clickety, clickety, click, and all the tools in the suite work together and your data travels from one to the next. And it makes listing optimization, I would say, it at least cuts the time that we used to do this manually in half, if not more, because it's so easy, and it just keeps getting better with all the new tools that you're adding, including the one that starts with A that we can't talk about right now.
Very soon we'll have to do a follow-up, right? We're just teasing. We're teasing our friends right now with what's to come.
Right. That's right. Exactly. Cool deal. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for your expertise and for taking the time to walk us through the listing optimization process. Guys, scroll down at the bottom of the video, and if you're on a phone, you may have to click to open that and see more, but I'll leave you a link to Helium 10 and some coupon codes in case you want to check it out and use it for yourself. They're always adding new features that are helpful for Amazon sellers that can help you succeed much more quickly and with less effort than you normally would have to be. I'm Karon Thackston. I am with Karon Thomas from Helium 10. We both thank you so much for being here, and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Karon.